Hello and welcome to today's Career Month program, Mind Your Career program. My name is Adam Sylvain and I work with the Alumni Career Development Team here at the University of Chicago in Hyde Park. I'm delighted to welcome you to our webinar titled The 5-Part Magic Formula to Land a Promotion. Today we will hear from alumna Christina Holloway. Christina is a leadership development and business coach helping executives and entrepreneurs grow their business faster, create results-driven teams, and increase profitability. She was recently named to the Forbes Coaches Council and serves as a mentor coach at 1871 Chicago, a nonprofit digital startup incubator. And her work on leadership development has been featured in the Huffington Post, Addicted to Success, and Fast Company. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to cede the floor to Christina.
Hi, Adam. Thank you for that introduction. I just want to make sure that we're all set up and ready to go. Can you see me and I'm doing all right?
Yep, looks great.
Okay. Thanks everyone for signing up and registering for my webinar. I'm hoping to share quite a few valuable nuggets of information when it comes to the 5-part magic formula to land a promotion. So just a little bit about what we're going to talk about. So today we're going to learn the 5-part formula that will help you break the habits that hold you back. And then we'll talk about how the choices you make can affect your chances for promotion, how to focus on your strengths for best results, how to find an override switch for that inner control freak, and then what it means to take risks the right way. At the end, I'm going to share with you a customized approach to developing a leadership mindset, and then some bonus material that as a thank you for attending the webinar. All right, so just a little bit before we get started, I also wanted to share my email address. It's Christina@ChristinaHolloway.com. At any time, if you feel you need to drop off the call, or maybe you didn't dial in for the live call and you're listening to the replay, I wanted to extend an invitation to everyone who's participating or who bothered to take the time to listen to what I have to say today. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm always open and willing to have 1-hour strategy sessions. It is something that I offer to anybody who's willing to talk if they have a question or a problem, and I'm putting that out there right now. Also, if you have any questions or issues based on anything that we discussed today, you're welcome to reach out to me and we can further the discussion. I can answer some additional questions offline. So I wanted to put that out there as an invite to anybody who's interested in talking further. So a little bit about who I am. Adam actually covered quite a bit, so I'm going to go not as deep, but I'll just talk a little bit about who I am. So I started a boutique management consulting business about 18 years ago. I spent most of the time working in management consulting and working with large corporations. Some of my clients include Accenture and Google. I also work with major educational organizations, including Northwestern University. Recently, I'd say about 5 years ago, I decided to open up my offerings to include coaching, executive coaching, leadership coaching, and small business coaching for people who want to grow and expand their businesses. I have a website. It's called ChristinaHolloway.com. And as Adam had mentioned, I've been published in a number of leading publications, including Forbes, Fast Company, and the Huffington Post. Aside from that, I also create courses and materials and coaching packages that are also available on my website. I am a graduate of the University of Chicago. I received my degree from the Master of Liberal Arts program in 2011, and here I am very happy to be getting my diploma after a 3-year master's program. Besides that, I actually have the privilege of incorporating a giving program to my business. So once I sell a course or a program, a percentage of profit goes to a nonprofit that I've been working with. Currently, it's called Connections for Abused Women and Their Children. I sit on the board of directors for this organization, and we develop programs and initiatives to help victims of domestic abuse get away from their abuser. It's always my privilege to give at the end of the year a certain amount of money or a certain amount of items or supplies that they need based on how well my business does. All right, okay, and so in addition, when it comes to the entire approach for my business, My whole goal in having my business and in creating an online platform is to really help people get to the next level in their goals. So for me, it's coming up with this particular formula for creating next level leaders. It's about helping people get promoted. It's about helping people get to the next level, or even helping people decide maybe this is no longer my path and I need to get somewhere else in order to feel fulfilled in my personal life and in my professional goals. So I have a lofty goal for myself. I use this all the time and keep it taped to my desk right now, and it's to help 1 million people transform their careers. I do this in a number of ways, but the most important are visibility through action, building a solid reputation, delivering meaningful results, and then creating people who are responsible leaders, developing responsible leadership. So those are the goals, and those are the ways that I work with people as we move forward with any kind of coaching or purchasing my programs. This is what you can expect. So, all right, that's plenty about me. So what I'm going to do now is open the floor up to, right, a poll. So we're going to pull together some information based on the poll to see where people are in their mindset, what they're looking for right now when it comes to this 5-part formula for career advancement. What's your next big career move? So feel free to select one of the following items just to give me an idea where exactly you are in the career, your career development, and where you're looking for some help.
All right, Christina. So we're getting some responses, probably just a few seconds for the rest to make their choices. All right, so we have our results. We have 47% of attendees say that they're ready for a promotion but don't know their next move. 27% who want to get promoted to an executive or director position. 16% who are relatively new to the position they're in but want to set themselves up for for that promotion, and 10% who want to get promoted to a manager position.
Right. Okay. This is great information. So, all right. So let me just get back to my PowerPoint. Yes. Okay. So, all right. So here's how we're going to talk about the 5-part magic formula. So it's clear that the people who have dialed in today, either they have an idea for a position, but they're not sure how to get there, or everything is so new to them that they're not sure how to create that strategy for success that's going to position them for advancement or wins as they get through their career, even when they're starting at the very beginning. And that's very important. So this 5-part magic formula came to me because of, for over almost 20 years of working with people in teams and in a corporate environment and in a professional world. These are the 5 that are the most important. They're the ones that when we make small changes to what we're doing today in any one of these areas, we start to see bigger changes down the road. So, so I'm going to talk about first the difference between being busy and being productive, because sometimes it's not that we don't know the answer to that, it's that sometimes we forget and we fall into this little rabbit hole of getting busy, and then we forget that what we're really trying to do is be productive, because everything that we do needs to be something that sells who we are as a personal brand, who we are as a person who shows up to work every day. The next thing we want to do is focus on your greatness. I'm going to go deeper into what that means, but also this is another habit that we develop where we forget exactly how much we have to offer, and it can be easy for that to happen when you're in teams and when you fall into this slide backwards of constantly getting negative feedback and constantly being told you need to work on areas that are not, they don't come intuitively to you. And the next one is being controlling will always work against you. So this is a habit that gets developed, but it's not always your fault. A lot of external forces contribute to what it means to start becoming controlling, and we don't want to ever admit that we are. The next one is taking risks that matter. So when I put it this way, what it really means is, how are you taking risks and you're not playing too small? It's easy to take risks that are small, but are they going to pay forward when you really need them to? So we're going to talk a little bit about what it means to take those kind of risks. The last one, which is the biggest one, is to change your mindset, to change your path. So when we're talking about that, we're talking about actually stepping into believing that we earned that role, that we deserve that role, and that we were made for that role. That's something that you already know you're supposed to have, and the rest of it is really figuring out your plan to get there. So these are the five habits that we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to get started with being busy is not equal to being productive. So I have a few. Here's just a few bullets to tell you exactly what it means to step away from being a busy person and step into being a productive person. But what I wanted to do was go a little bit into how this played out for me when I was first starting out. So right after college, I ended up getting a job, and it was an administrative job. It required a lot of filing paperwork and putting stamps on envelopes and mailing them out. And I had to do that every day. So after a while, you feel that you have more to contribute. And it's not that that's what all they were giving me. It's that everybody had to do it who was in the same role I was. But it started to consume everything that I was doing. The more you get done, the more envelopes you put stamps on and you get mailed out, the more people are going to come to you and say, you know what, you're really great at putting stamps on envelopes, and I don't really have the time to do it, so why don't you help both of us out by putting all the stamps on these envelopes? And I'm giving you kind of a really simple example, but it can be anything that you're experiencing right now. It can be anything where you're in a position right now and somebody just keeps giving you the stuff. And if anybody justifies it by telling you you're really great at this and you're really be helping us all out if you could do it, take a step back, because this may not be all it's cracked up to be. So when I ended up having this particular situation, and I really wanted to flex my muscle and show I had more to contribute besides that, what, even at a young age, what I was trying to do was get somebody on my side who believed in me and who understood I had more to contribute, and kind of step out to be a little bit of a star performer. So it turned out that a little while later, there was a training program to learn a new computer system, and I volunteered to take this computer program. So I did it for about, I don't know, 6 weeks, and they offered it inside the company. And so some of us were volunteered to do it because it was a pilot launch. Well, what happened was when they launched this software, people started to need help, and they were sitting at their desks, and they'd come out and they'd say, you know, you took this pilot program for this computer training program. Is it possible you can come in and you can help me figure out how to do it? The people who were asking me were higher up. They were decision makers. And I was more than happy to set my envelopes aside for an hour or two and go and help them with their computer program. Now, what this was doing was showing them that not only could I learn a new system, but I could also teach a new system. I could also come out and show somebody else how to do it. And I was a pleasant person. I was able to do it, and I was articulate, and I was able to explain it so that they could get their work done faster and easier by asking me, as opposed to anybody else, can you come in and can you help me do this? It is a simple example, but this is the difference between just being busy and at the end of the day saying, I finished everything that they put on my desk, including filing paperwork, which I mean, I don't know, but I don't even think people do that anymore, that they don't even file paperwork anymore because everything is so paperless. But I was able to say I can do more than that. And in the end, after I went to leave that company, the person that I helped actually wrote my letter of recommendation for a new job, which was a completely different job and took me in a whole new direction and was extremely rewarding and long-term, which I'm going to talk about in one of the other habits that we changed. So a little bit about how that goes. You want to assess your workload. figure out what you're doing that's busy work that people are just giving you, saying, hey, you're really great at doing this, maybe you could take care of it. And there's one aspect of being a team player, but there's another aspect of just being a person who takes it, and doesn't set boundaries for how you can also make room for productive work. So you want to learn how to say no, but you want to say it in a kind way. I'm sure if somebody says you're really great at doing this, if you just yelled, no, I'm not doing that, it's not really going to go over very well. So you want to start practicing it and being able to go back and say, look, I appreciate that you think I'm really good at putting stamps on envelopes. At the same time, I have 5 other things that need to be done. And I have a boss that asked me to do these things. While I'd love to help you out, these are my priority. I'll have to go back to my boss and ask him what I can put aside in order to help you with envelopes. And that usually is a great way for a person to get the message of, I'm going to have to talk to somebody higher above you in order to get approval to help you out with this. Is it really that important? Most times they'll back off. Sometimes they'll say, yeah, it is important. We all need to sit down. And that's great, because now we're able to set these boundaries and explain exactly why your workload is full and what needs to be let go in order for you to move forward. So we have learn how to say no, make sure you do it gracefully, and then know your worth, know what else you can contribute, and then start looking for those opportunities. All right, so the next one is focus on your greatness. So I positioned it this way, but this is really about focusing on strengths versus weaknesses. And if you go on my website, you'll find that everything I talk about, everything that I focus on is mostly about 1, positive reinforcement, and 2, strengths development. I don't spend a lot of time working on weaknesses. And I know that many, many people still in the corporate world today end up getting into a system where you get performance reviews, and your performance reviews will tell you, you did these 5 things great, you did these 4 things not so great. Can you work on those 4 things you didn't do? And there's a problem there. So many times we don't see them as weaknesses, and they usually are not weaknesses. The difference is that you put more of your energy into what was easier for you to accomplish because it came to you naturally. And the more people are able to focus on going to where their strengths are and getting things done in a way that's enjoyable and fulfilling, it gives you that job satisfaction. That's that part that's not really always there. Many people, there's a study from Gallup about the state of the American manager, where the dissatisfaction rate is through the roof. It's like 75%. First of all, managers aren't sure how they can manage. They're not trained properly to be good managers, especially managing people. And then second of all, they're so busy just trying to put out fires that they're not actually helping nurture the people below them so that they can have a fulfilling work environment. So what we're talking about here is being able to choose projects that are appropriate for you, keeping your ego in check, and then picking new behaviors that showcase your strengths. So one example that I have is when I worked at another company, and the person sitting next to me was always a really bubbly, friendly, happy, jovial woman who always brought in treats on Friday, and she knew a ton of people. She was always out there networking. People loved to give her projects and assignments. She was always out there getting the Star Award, Employee of the Month. And the thing was that it's easy to fall into this trap of saying, I'm not like her, therefore I'm less than. And that's not necessarily true. So for me, I wouldn't say that I'm that much of an extrovert. I don't have really a problem going out there and introducing myself to strangers, but I'd say I'm more of like an ambivert. I'm not an extrovert or an introvert. But when you start to look at it from the perspective of I don't have what she has, and she's clearly knocking it out of the park, therefore what I have is a weakness, it works against you. You could very well be an introvert. The problem is when you have a boss who says, she's getting all of the assignments because of the way she's able to negotiate and work and network with other people. What do you have to offer? Your first instinct is to turn that around and say, as an introvert, I spend more time making deeper relationships, going deeper in the one-on-one relationships I have. The people who work with me know me and trust me, so it's not really about me bringing in muffins on a Friday. Or what I can do for them. And the ones that I have, I knock it out of the park every time because I'm so detail oriented and I spend a lot of time doing my research and doing the work that I'm supposed to be doing. So what we're trying to do here is find what makes you unique, finds what makes you work more effectively, and then turn that into positioning it as this is my greatness. This is why you hired me. This is why I'm here, and I'm here to showcase it. So in that respect, how do we know what our strengths are? Well, there are certain ways to figure it out without having to take a strengths assessment. And so again, it's like when you gravitate towards certain assignments, the ones that really make you feel good at the end of the day, that you finished them or that you contributed in a meaningful way. At the same time, I always recommend that people take a strengths assessment, and I'm going to include it in my speaker notes that I make available after the course. A link to the StrengthsFinder. It's a StrengthsFinder 2.0, and I'm sure a lot of you have already heard of it, and maybe a lot of you have already taken it. Go back and dig out the PDF that explains what your 5 strength profile is, and then take some time to look into what are examples of where I used my strengths while I was at work, and how did I have an effective win? How was that working out for me? Where is an example of where I didn't use my strengths to my fullest abilities and it fell flat a little bit? Take your strengths assessment with you to talk to your boss. Many of the habits that we're going to talk about today have to do with changing the relationship that you have with your boss, because this is the person who's pretty much responsible for having you on their team, ensuring that you get the exposure and the assignments that you need, and then hopefully advocating for you to move up. So it's one of the most important relationships you have is with your boss, and what you want to do is turn that boss into an advocate. In that sense, you're going to go in armed with information and tell them, I took the strengths assessment. I'm finding that I do really well in certain projects, but not so well in other projects. Let's try to figure out a plan so that I spend less time focusing on what are considered weaknesses and more time making wins so that your projects get done on time and under budget. Just taking that little bit of an effort to reposition what a performance review looks like from your point of view makes a big difference, because it's yours, it's your performance review, and this is your career. So the more you take ownership of it earlier, the better it'll be for you. All right, so stop being controlling. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of a twist on this. So you'll see here we have, I'm the only one who can get it done right, and this tends to happen. So what happens here is when we tend to fall into controlling behavior, it could be and may likely be that you've been burned before. So this is a little bit of a way for you to protect yourself. You don't want to get burned again. So maybe you did a project and it didn't quite go so well, or maybe you have serious issues with trust. You don't trust the people you don't know well. You have better relationships with people you know deeply, and and you can trust them and understand how you do your projects. Sure, that's fine. But letting this controlling behavior seep in eventually can turn into a big monster. So if you ever find yourself saying, I'm the only one who can get it done right, then you need to take a step back and ask yourself, why do I feel that way? If it's because you have a project that's really important, that everything is riding on it, that you feel like this is the biggest project that you have that's going to take you to the next level, yeah, it can be very overwhelming and can be intimidating, and it can be very scary to release a little bit of that control and trust in the people who are assigned to you to get that project finished. At the same time, what you want to do is start to channel your inner teacher. Again, you want to start developing systems that work, so you're able to come into a project and say, look, I put together the project plan, I put together all of the assignments, I thought good and hard about how I want people to interact and work on my team, and I decided that these are some of the procedures that really would make me feel comfortable in having us move forward on a project so that we can get it done with success. Because if I win, you all win. It's a great conversation to have in the beginning, and that way everyone knows who's on they all know they're on the same page. They also, you're also able to invite them to give feedback. This is the process that I created. It's worked for me the past 8 years. I don't really want to change it, But if anybody has feedback or contributions or finds that it's cumbersome or that some systems have changed since I created it, I'm willing to have that conversation, but let's be cautious about it. So the more you're able to communicate with people, the more likely you'll be to open up a little bit more, trust a little bit more in the feedback you're getting from your team, and then be able to create lasting solutions for your projects. The bottom one is stop creating problems to solve problems. This is for people who, actually it's a 1-2 punch. You feel like you're really busy, so you decide to be really controlling. And I had somebody like that one time. She was just overwhelmed. And after a while, we evaluated what she was working on. She had a lot of little administrative stuff. She felt that she was the only person who could get all of this administrative stuff done that she created for herself. It wasn't really part of her job. And then she tried to talk us into making sure that she could get people to work below her, because she felt that that was the way she was going to get promoted. If they started giving her people that she could manage and she could just keep giving them so much busy work, then she was primed for management position. And that's not how it works. We had to tell her to take a step back, understand what it meant to have productive work, and showcase exactly how she's an effective decision maker, how she can manage things without constantly creating fires and putting out fires before we would even consider her for a management role. So that's stop being controlling. Excuse me. So the fourth one is taking risks that matter. All right. So what I've listed here is a list of ways that you can take effective and meaningful risks. And I'm going to give you an example of what I did to catapult myself out of a certain job and into a new one. So what I had was, like I mentioned before, I had gotten a recommendation to get a new job, and I went into that job. So many years ago, I worked for Arthur Andersen Consulting. So it was the main group that Andersen Worldwide. I had the job for about a couple of years before they decided to split between Arthur Andersen and Andersen Consulting into two separate entities, which they went in two different directions. So, but what happened is, while you were in the process of that, what they would do is Andersen Consulting would come to you and tell you, this is the job we have for you. This is the opportunity we think, and we'd love to have you in this job. And here's all the job responsibilities. Here's your pay. Here's your benefits. Then you'd go and talk to Arthur Andersen, and they would tell you, this is the job we have for you. This is how much you're going to pay. These are your responsibilities. This is where this job is going to take you. And at the time, absolutely no one knew how this was going to play out. No one could possibly have ever imagined, maybe some people, that what was going to happen to Arthur Andersen. So at the time, you had two really viable, great offers in front of you, and you didn't know which way you were going to go. And for me, what I did was I decided to make an appointment to talk to the partner in charge of our division. So I already worked in a small department and I was doing great work. I did not want to talk to my manager, and I did not want to talk to the senior manager in charge. I went to the division head, who was the partner in charge of the whole group. So I sent him a note and I asked him, can you sit down and talk to me? I only need 20 minutes of your time. And he was very gracious. He said, absolutely. And he sat down and talked to me for an hour after work around 5 or 6 o'clock, when everyone else had gone home. And I told him I was really struggling with this choice that I had to make. And I told him that these were my goals, that I loved working for the business, for the company, and that I loved the work I was doing, but I wasn't sure it was going to take me where I really wanted it to go. And I said I could really use some advice on my path and if I have a future at this business, at this company. And he was really, really honest with me. He told me, if you stay in this department that you're in now, you have no future. You have nowhere to go. He said, if you pick the other business unit, I'm not sure where that's going to take you. And he said, if you're really interested in moving into this other department, which was marketing, he says, I know people and I can get you into a special project over there and see if you can make new connections and find your own way forward. That's taking a risk. I don't know that anybody else really stopped to talk to this guy or even ask him what he thought, or what advice he would have. But I did do what he said. I ended up choosing Andersen Consulting. Arthur Andersen obviously went their own way, which was not something anybody had anticipated, at least in my group. And then we went to this name change, and I went into the marketing group to work on the renaming initiative. I found a whole new department. I found more people who advocated for me, and from there, my career and my business completely took off. They asked me to come back for my business, to create a new business and come back as someone who's a consultant, and I did. And it was 18 years of working with them in a whole other capacity. So you can take this risk and make your choices. You don't know how it's going to play out. I thought that I would at least just stay with that business forever. And the department that I was in ended up getting dissolved and everybody was fired. So if you chose to stay with Anderson Consulting, even then, they had dissolved the department. So this is a little bit of taking ownership of exactly what you do and where you want to be, how you want that company to help you, and not just be the employee that helps them. They need to be able to give you advice as well. So after I moved into the marketing department, I helped with the renaming to Accenture, and then it just embarked on another 18 years of working with them on a freelance basis with my management consulting business, helping them develop new systems and programs, and they paid me really well. It was a great way, and I'm able to track back from the work I'm doing today, all the way back to when I first got out of college to that first job I had where I volunteered to do computer programming and teach someone how to do computers, all the way moving forward to where I am today, to the conversations that I had, to the initiative that I took, to believing in myself, and then to trying to make these connections and these relationships with people that I thought could help me. So you can see here that I have a list. Some risks that you want to take that matter are to lead a project, but not just any project, something that's either difficult or something that no one else wants. Those are always the best ones. They aren't the easiest, but they get you visibility, especially if you can carry it off and do it right. Mentor a new hire. Again, this is about teaching somebody else what you've learned, and your ability to be able to at least take what you've collected and then give it to somebody else so that they can also do it, shows that you have the type of communication skills that are necessary for a promotable position. This is always important. So mentoring a new hire also has to do with communicating the culture of the business. Am I taking all the systems and am I buying into the culture of this business enough that I'm taking everything that I learned and sharing it in a meaningful and productive way? Asking for more responsibility, that can be any number of things. Can I take on an extra project? Can I help with this team that's missing a person that could really use some extra help? This is about being innovative and asking for an angle that didn't exist, or solving a problem that they didn't know they had. So again, requesting a project outside your department and asking a higher up for advice. So that's taking risks that matter. I go deeper into what it means to take risks that matter in my speaker notes, and that has more to do with if you're playing small and you're picking the wrong types of things to showcase. So make sure when you read the notes that you'll see there's a little bit of an extra angle to that. So all right, the fifth one, the last one, is change your mindset. So what this means is you've taken all of the information from the last 4 habits that we're going to change. We're going to sit down and we're going to take a look at exactly what we want to accomplish. And this has a lot to do with the way I coach. This is about changing your mindset, is asking yourself, where do you want to stand this time next year? And I love this photo. And it's always a really powerful reminder, especially in January. Where do you want to stand this time next year in 2020? Will you have the same job? Will you have a few people working below you? Will you have better relationship with your boss, or even a person above your boss? Will you have made a bigger network, at least connected with more people and made meaningful connections with them? Will you be in a completely new job, in a completely new industry, one that sets your heart on fire and really gets you motivated to get up in the morning and go to work? So what we're going to do, and I've included the worksheets. I have 2 worksheets that do this. They get you into your mindset and help you plot out for the next year what you're trying to accomplish. So I usually work with people on a 5-year and a 3-year forecast. From the 3-year forecast, we look at what you can do in the next year. So starting in January, we want to look at what you can do by quarter and then by month. So you want to break it down into small pieces. saying I want to be promoted by next year is overwhelming. And if you look at yourself today and say, I have a number of things I need to work on when it comes to these habits, it can be hard to envision yourself into that new role. But what you can do is take a January or February, we'll start with February, and say you're going to change your being productive and being busy habit. Just by saying no a few times, you're changing your environment already. Taking risks that matter, volunteering for certain projects, and being able to speak up or show up to your boss for a performance review and saying, look, this is what I have, this is my plan, this is what I intend to accomplish. I have career goals. I'm happy to work at this company. I'm hoping the company can return what I want to do as well as what I can give to the company. And this is about a mindset change. You're always walking into a business and you're saying to them, as well as to yourself, I have something of value to contribute here. Either you're going to work with me so that I can show you what I can do, because my own goal is to not just reach my goal, my career goals, but also to contribute in a meaningful way to your business so that it helps the bottom line, it helps the culture or the mindset or the way that people are interacting, or it helps in any way. So you're stepping into that power, or you're stepping into that self-confidence. So and that's part of what we're saying here. Hold your boss accountable. There's no reason why during a performance review you can't go back to them and say, in a very, very positive, a meaningful way, you don't want to walk in and go, look, you're not delivering on what I wanted. But you do want to walk in and say, I took the time to plot out where I want to be in the next year or two. And I want to be here because I really value being here. And I love the people I work with. And I think we have a strong enough relationship. And I'd love to get your input on how I can achieve some of these things that I plotted out for myself this year. You may have plotted out 6 things. You may only accomplish 4, but believe me, 4 out of 6 is still going to make incredible change for you. It's going to move you more in a direction which is where your heart is really pulling you. So you want to also check in regularly with your boss. How am I doing on this project? How are things going? How are you feeling? I don't want to have another meeting where you list all of my strengths and then all my weaknesses on the other side. I want to spend more of my time growing and developing exactly what I should be doing in order to be a more effective or a contributor to the company. And then let's say you've done all of that. You've gone and you've checked in with your boss. You've tried really hard to build a great relationship with your boss. You've done whatever you could to get yourself out there, meet more people. And it's been hard, especially if you're an introvert. It's hard to go out there and try to meet new people and just introduce yourself and put yourself out there and be vulnerable. And maybe this you found after 3 months, 4 months, or 6 months, this just isn't going to work out. And there are signs and there are clues that this just isn't going to work out. Most of it is your boss will tell you, I don't have time for that. You ask for certain assignments and they're like, no. And then there's the if they do your performance review and they're still focusing on, well, you didn't do all of these things, and they might end up being the controlling person who's really holding you back. You need to be able to fit into your plan how you can pivot if you need to. Pivoting could be anything from, if you really want to stay in the business, finding a new department and transferring out of there. Burning bridges is really, really important here. You don't want to burn any bridges. And then if working at this company is really not playing out for you, or the plan that you have in place for yourself is not giving you those opportunities as you continue to stay there, then you eventually need to make sure that you're able to cut your losses earlier rather than later, and be able to walk away. And that's not easy, but the more you're able to sit down and look at your mindset, change how much you believe that you deserve the things that you have and the things that you want, the more it'll be easier for you to say, you know what, this isn't working for me and I have bigger dreams. So if this isn't going to work out, I need to find my true path. And there's no consequence to that. There's no reason why you can't do that. The more you can step into that, the more likely you'll be to be very successful in whatever you choose to do. All right, so those are the 5 those are the 5 habits that we like to change the 5-part magic formula. These are the 5 that are the most important to focus on, and they build on each other. I'm just going to see what my, oh, okay. So this is my next slide, is really just to summarize the 5 parts that are the most important, that we can actually affect major change by changing any one of these things today, is being more productive and spending less time being busy, focusing on your greatness, letting go of being a controlling person. And it's a 2-pronged approach. And if you're dealing with a controlling person, having that type of conversation that allows you to ease their concerns and build trust with you so that you're not hampered by a controlling person, taking risks that matter. So, and then so that you're getting in front of people who can help you and make decisions for you and can advocate for your successes and say, you know what, she did great work. I'd love to have her work with me again. And then changing your mindset so that you can step into that belief system that you do deserve the things that you have, that the negativity around you is just noise, and that the more you can focus on what you really want in life and have those meaningful conversations, the more it's going to happen for you. All right, so we have 20 minutes, and this is pretty much the end of what I was, my topic. And we have, I think, one more poll. So based on what we talked about from the poll, we've included the options to say which ones do you think that you'd like to work on, or which ones do you think that you'd need to work on in order for you to strategically plot your career advancement.
All right, I've launched that poll, Christina, and we're starting to get some responses. Just give it a few more seconds for folks to make their selection, and then I'll share out the results.
Great. Get water.
All right, so our results, we have 41% that say taking strategic risks that pay off, that's the one to focus on the most. Playing to strengths, 30% of responses. 11% said changing the mindset was kind of the thing to focus on. And then 9% each responded with too busy but not productive, or controlling behavior as being things to look at.
Right. So what we want to know, okay, so taking strategic risks are important. The other part, 9% responded to controlling behavior, because we don't believe that we're controlling. If you had enough self-awareness to pick that one, congratulations, that's your first step. And then being too busy. Again, we're not always aware that we have busy work. We really feel like we're accomplishing things when we get through our to-do list. But taking a step back and reevaluating exactly what we're working on, it's important. And then not taking big enough risks is the biggest one. It's one of the biggest ones. But if you, when I go through my speaker notes, besides the examples that I gave here, there's more about developing the type of mindset to actually play bigger, to play at a bigger in a bigger venue, so that you're getting in front of these people. And then part of it also, I think, is just off the top of my head, is also feeling like we deserve to be in the same room with some of these people who've already accomplished the things that we want. And then being able to say, I have plenty to contribute and I'm happy to show up. I mean, I feel like I feel like in my entire career, or leading up to this moment, I never really had that self-conscious feeling of saying I don't belong here, which can work for you, and it also can work against you. So, but I just would always show up and say, well, that's great that he's the CEO of the business, but I also have something that I've won, that I've done, and I think that it's okay for me to stand next to him, or even have that kind of conversation, or ask for his advice. And I was told, even very young, when I first got out of school, go out there and talk to people that you wouldn't normally interact with, and ask them, what are you going through? What can I help you with? How can I help your job do better? And how can I show you what I'm capable of doing? So Yeah, so that's pretty important stuff. So let me just see. I do have more slides. So, okay. The last part is taking you to the next level. Comes from my website. I have a framework on the website that takes you to the next level leader and takes you through each of the steps on how to broaden your horizons, meet new people, and push yourself out of your comfort zone when it comes to taking risks that matter. This is a small synopsis, but you're welcome to go on the website to look at the next level leader protocol. And here are the three things that are important. Getting known. So are you building the kind of relationships that help you find an advocate who can speak on your behalf? That's your biggest goal, is to always get out there and find somebody who can speak on your behalf besides your boss. Sometimes your boss doesn't follow through. So you need a number of different people who can advocate for your intelligence, your ability to contribute, and your ability to shine when it comes to challenging situations. And then getting respected. So are you stretching yourself outside your comfort zone to accept assignments to help you showcase your strengths? And getting trusted. Are you delivering on your promises in a way that shows what you're capable of in that new role that you want? Again, my speaker notes go deeper into these three elements, and then my website also showcases exactly how that plays together, how they all interact, and what that means to take you to the next level. So that's the end of my presentation. And just to remind you, this is my email address. You're welcome to send me an email and ask me for the bonus material, and I'll send you the link to the Dropbox where I keep all of the material. You can download it directly to your computer and take a look at it. One is the ebook on power dynamics, which is how you can expand your network to have people who will advocate for you. And the other one is to create powerful change workbook. That one takes you through the whole process of changing your mindset. So developing your plan for the year, figuring out how you're going to make these small wins and how they'll accumulate to the big win at the end of the year. I'm also going to include a copy of this PowerPoint, and I have speaker notes with links that include the list of the 13 books that I think are the most important when it comes to developing your career or helping you get to the next level, helping you change your mindset, your behaviors, your attitudes when it comes to stepping into what you feel you really deserve. And I feel you really deserve it too. Everybody deserves to be recognized for their accomplishments and for their unique ability to contribute to this world around them. So with that, I'm finished and happy to open up for Q&A.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Christina, for your insights and for the generous offer to provide these additional resources for our attendees. So we have a few questions coming in, and just a reminder to anybody on the call to please submit any questions to the questions box, and we'll try to get to as many as we can in the next 10 minutes or so. The first question that I have for you is an attendee who asks, if you have taken a risk and picked a project that no one else wants, how do you avoid the feeling that you are the only one who can do it right? These seem somewhat contradictory.
Picking a project that no one else wants is usually about that there's an issue there. So you're actually stepping into a situation where nobody else wants it, and there's usually a problem either with the deliverables, there's a tight budget, there's a tight timeline. The team is not the most well-built, and maybe there's rumors that the person who's leading the team is overbearing and controlling. They sabotage the project. You're not walking in thinking, I'm the only one who can solve this problem. What you're doing is volunteering to step in and say, I may not be the only one who can solve this problem, but I am a go-getter. I am somebody who can solve problems, and I'm going to do my best to try to be involved in this project because everybody's watching. So, and it may be a great experience for you. It may be a really challenging experience for you. But either way, you're going to learn something about yourself as you step into that role. And also, you do want to position yourself with your boss and say, look, I'll agree to be on this project, especially if nobody else wants it and your boss comes to you and says, can you just sit on this project? Nobody else will do it. You do want to sit there and tell them, you know, I'm happy to save you from embarrassment by stepping in and doing this project. I want something in return. And you want to be able to negotiate. The next time a really big project comes up, I want to be a top on the list of candidates to lead the project. anything that you can ask for in return to say, I'm happy to help you out of this pickle, but I need you to help me out, and then refer back. As you and I both know, we've gone through my plan for the year, and my plan for the year is to get on a high-profile project. If I can work on this project and at least get something, done or stay on target, then I'd like whatever my accomplishment is with this project nobody wants to be something that catapults me to the next level. Bargain with them or use it as leverage for something that you really want. There's no reason. There's no big downside to saying I'm the one who can help. The downside is letting it get too big in your brain that you think that you're some sort of superhero. But it's okay to have a little bit of ego going in.
Great, thank you. Next question. Any advice for maintaining position and credibility during a reorganization when multiple roles are merging and evolving?
Yeah, a reorg, for a reorg, and so like what I did with where I was, we were going through a major reorganization, and that this was the moment where I took the time to step back and say, well, a lot is changing around me, and it is like quicksand. You could have landed anywhere, and it could have just not gone well. And there's no use in me actually going back and saying, I happen to be smart enough not to pick Arthur Andersen, and I happen to be smart enough not to stay with Andersen Consulting with that department, and I happen to be smart enough to go into marketing. That's not true. I happen to have enough wherewithal to have a conversation that helped me make a decision that I happened to play out well for me. So when you're doing a reorg, it's a great opportunity for you to take a step back and ask, well, what is this going to do for me? How is this shifting, and how am I going to be able to stay? And I know I'm aware in a perfect world, we'd all be able to pick and choose whatever jobs. And if a job fell away, we would just come back and say, oh, well, I'll just find something else to do. And that's not really the point. So when I did a lot of my consulting work, I spent a lot of time working with other departments, asking them, what kind of work can I do for you, so that if that project dried up, I had another one on deck waiting for me from another area. I also, when it came to reorg, offered to help to make the transition as seamless as possible. Find out exactly what you have to contribute and offer, and then make the effort to volunteer for even a short-term project that helps take you from point A to point B, takes you across the bridge from the old way of being to the new way of being, and try to find yourself a new position. If positions are being merged and people are being let go, you're in a precarious situation. So you certainly do want to start saying, here's how I can offer to help when it comes to creating the new normal, the new reality. It isn't easy. Going through a reorg there's just a lot of unknowns, so it's not easy. But the more you can put yourself out there, and the more you can try to meet as many people as you can who are decision makers, who want to grab you and bring you onto their team so that you can get over to the other side, that's what you want to do. That's where you want to be.
All right, I have a very practical question here, I think. What's the best way to phrase a request for a raise or a promotion?
I was going to say, just give me one. But start as early as possible. So what I did when I first got hired at Andersen Worldwide, I ended up with a job in tech support. I did not want to be there. So the first thing I did was ask them, what kind of experiences and what kind of assignments do I need in order for me to work my way through the company and work my way into another area? It was a little bold because I didn't really care. But if you really care, what you want to do is walk in and say, and have the conversation as early as possible. I want to know what my path is here. I want to know what, and they usually tell you, at least for me, they used to tell us, we're going to do your performance review. You'll find out what your raise is at the time. And at the time, it was the 90s, so we were all getting raises. But these days, it's more about you saying, at your first meeting, what do I need to accomplish in the next 6 months? And then what do I need to accomplish in the next year in order to make sure that I'm a very good candidate for whatever the top raise is, and then for the next promotion that's available. The other thing that you're doing is you're negotiating for the promotion. You and 6 other people might want that promotion, and you want to be able to talk to your boss and tell your boss, look, I'm willing to contribute in a meaningful way that looks good for both of us. But what I want is this promotion. What I want is to move up forward. And I may be saying it in a very bold way, but you certainly want to be able to talk to them and tell them in as earnest and honest a way as possible is, I have plans for myself. I really want to contribute to this company and see what I can do. Let's just figure out a plan. And it may be next year there's 6 candidates available for a role for this promotion, but you've already done all the legwork in order to get yourself up there. So you might be the prime candidate. And then if you have enough advocates, people who are speaking on your behalf to say, you know, she worked on this project for me, or he did this kind of work that he volunteered for this really difficult project that nobody else wanted. I kind of want to see what they can do in this new role. You could be the top person. At the same time, if you passed over for the role, you need to account for that, and you need to also have a plan. Well, let's go back to the boss and ask them, so this didn't go the way I planned. I still have these goals and these ambitions. An indicator about your boss is going to be, I know, I feel bad that it didn't play out for you. There were a number of great candidates. You're really up there with the rest of them. It was a tough decision. Let's try to figure out what other role I can get you in. And even if it meant transferring to another department, that's a boss that really cares and is on your side. At the same time, if you have a boss that says, that's just the way it goes, or I can't be bothered with it, or I have my own problems right now, or I'm trying to get out of this department, well, that's a huge red flag. And then at the same time, there's a question about the culture. If you have a boss that's really disengaged, that doesn't care, that's just showing up and punching the clock, there's an issue with the culture. And you may like the business, you may like the company. If the culture is lagging, you may need to find a way to negotiate around a lot of what's going on around you, or decide that that's not the place to be and come up with an exit strategy that takes you at least a year. You're going to do an exit strategy that's going to be 6 months to a year out, so that you have all of your bases covered, and that you're not out of a job. You don't quit without something else lined up for you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Christina, for for sharing all of these insights with us, and thank you everyone for participating. I do want to wrap things up since we're close to our hour, but just as a reminder to everyone that you can reach out to Christina at that email address that she's provided, and I will share that contact information in the post-event email as well. So if there were any unanswered questions, please do take advantage of that opportunity. Thank you everyone for attending. And just as a reminder, our Mind Your Career webinar series continues Tuesday, February 5th with a webinar titled 3 Ways to Work More Effectively with Your Team, kind of a nice tie-in to today's topic. Be sure to visit our events page at careers.uchicagoalumni.org for the most up-to-date schedule of events. Take care, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.